Today we are going to be making all of these beautiful DIYs using items from Dollar Tree. These are perfect for budget-friendly gift giving or just to keep and enjoy in your home. For this project, I will be using one pool noodle from Dollar Tree, as well as one roll of the adhesive contact paper. This pattern is called Marble Coffee. I'll also be using several pieces of pine branches and some of these wood stems from Dollar Tree, as well as some wide wired ribbon. And you can pick this up at Dollar Tree or any craft store. I'm going to be using some off-white chalk paint, and I'm going to be using some antique wax. Brown acrylic paint would work also. I'm going to measure and cut my pool noodle in three 16-inch sections, and a razor knife works really well to cut these. So I'll cut my pool noodle into three sections, and I'll have just a little piece left over. Next, I want to fill in the holes in the ends of my pool noodles, and I noticed that these little wood stems were just about the right size to fit in those holes. So I have these on hand. I'm going to use those and just hot glue those inside the pool noodle. You could just probably um, put some paper towel or some aluminum foil or something inside here. It's not going to show. I just wanted it to be a little more solid on the ends of the pool noodles instead of a hole in the end. And since I didn't want to have any indention there, I'm just adding some hot glue over the top of my wood piece. Then I'm going to use a metal ruler just to press down on this so it will make it nice and flat. And I'm using a metal ruler because once the glue is set, the metal ruler just pops right off, and then you have a nice smooth surface. And I'm going to do this on all of the ends of my three pool noodle pieces. Next, I'm going to take my roll of contact paper and I'm going to trace around the end of my pool noodle. And I actually should have moved this out from the edge a little bit further because I wanted about an inch border around that. And you can see here I did draw out around it about an inch. And I'm going to cut out that circle. And then I'm going to make some cuts from the outside of my circle to that inner line of the size of my end of my pool noodle. And then I'm going to peel off the backing and stick this on to the end of the pool noodle. And I'll fold down each of those little tabs over the end, just pressing them down tightly. And this is how I'm going to cover the ends of my little logs. And I'm going to repeat this on all of the ends of my three pool noodle pieces. Then I'm going to cut a piece of contact paper that is the same length as my pool noodle and long enough to, or wide enough to go all the way around the pool noodle. And then I will just basically wrap my pool noodle in this so that it is covered completely with the contact paper. And yep, you guessed it. I'm going to wrap the other two pieces of my pool noodle in the contact paper as well. Okay, here's where the fun starts. We are going to transform these into some birch logs. So I'm going to take my off-white colored chalk paint and this kind of bristly brush from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put a heavy, heavy dry brush coat on this, and I'm going to leave sections of the contact paper showing through, especially where some of those darker places are. I want to see those darker places come through as well. And you definitely want the brush strokes to show on this. And as you can see, it's already starting to look more like a birch log. I'm not going to paint it all the way down to the end because I am going to use a clamp and clamp that to the unpainted section at the bottom. And that way I can just stand it up to dry. Then once the paint is dry, on the other section, I can paint that little bit on the end. And then I'm also going to kind of in a circular motion do some heavy dry brushing on the ends of the pool noodles as well. I'm going to start adding some details using my brown antique wax, or like I said, you can use some just acrylic craft paint. And I'm using a little small, thin liner brush, and I'm going to just put some small lines in a circular motion around the ends of my logs so it looks kind of like the cut end would look. And I'm going to use a little bit more of a fluffier brush and the same paint and just darken it around the edge so it looks kind of like the bark and it just gives it a little bit more dimension. Then I'm going to take my large brush and add a little bit more paint, and I'm going to do some more dry brushing all over the log in just random places. And this is just going to be kind of messy looking, which is okay because tree bark is kind of messy looking. And I would just suggest that you go fairly light on this. You can always add more, but it's a little harder to lighten it up if you get it too dark. So uh, I'm going to finish that on all of my logs. And then I'm going to take my small liner brush and I'm going to add just some small little lines randomly all along my log as well. And once again, just start with a few of the little marks and then add more as you go until you like the way it looks. And then once all three of my logs were finished and the paint was completely dry, I did give them all a coat of this matte finish spray. And when my sealer is completely dry, I'm going to stack the three logs together, kind of offset, and then I'm going to take my wired ribbon and wrap that around my little bundle and hot glue that to secure the logs together. And I'm going to take my same ribbon and I'm going to tie a bow. And I think I'm just going to do a single bow, just something simple because I kind of feel like the logs are the star of this show. And so I just wanted a simple bow to go on the top. I'm using a zip tie to secure my bow, but you could use wire or twine. I just happen to have a zip tie handy, so that's what I used. And then I'm taking a small piece of my ribbon to put over the center of my bow and cover up that zip tie. Then I'll just attach my bow to the top of my little bundle of logs. And then I'm going to take a few pieces of that pine greenery, just tuck them under the bow. And I had thought about using some berries or something, but I really kind of liked the look of just the greenery. And then I used the one with the little pine cone in the center. And I really like how this turned out. For this next project, I'm going to be using this cute little wood tray from Dollar Tree and this reindeer Christmas ornament. I also found this cute little plaid flannel tree at Dollar Tree that I think those are new this year. And I'm going to be using my off-white chalk paint again, as well as some of that brown antique wax. This is a really quick and easy project. I'm going to start by just removing the embellishments from the front of that reindeer ornament. I'm using my heat tool just to loosen the glue, but it really popped off pretty easily. And then because this has the glittery finish on it, I'm going to just paint over the whole reindeer using that chalk paint just to get rid of the glitter. I just want it to be kind of more of a matte finish on my reindeer. This is really personal preference. If you like the glitter, you can leave it that way. Or if you wanted to paint this a brown color or even black, like kind of more of a silhouette, that would be great too. I didn't paint the antlers using this paint, but I am going to use my brown antique wax, or again, you can use just a brown paint, and I'm going to kind of lightly go over those antlers just to kind of give it a little bit of contrast from the rest of the deer. And so I'm just painting all sides of those antlers. Then I'm going to take my tray, and I like the finish of this. I'm going to leave it just as it is. I'm going to set my little plaid tree on there, and then my deer would not stand up on its own, so I just put a little hot glue on its feet and attached it to the tray, and then added a few pieces of pine greenery, and that's it. Super simple, but look how cute it is. I found these cute little signs at Dollar Tree, and they're adorable just the way they are. But with just adding a few little embellishments to them, they're going to be so much better. So I'm going to be using this string of lights that I got at Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to be using some of these little Christmas trees. There are 6 in this package. And then I also have another package of trees that are these little tiny ones. There's 8 in this package. And then I'll also be using a little bit of ribbon. I'm going to be starting with this Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas sign, and I'm going to use these little trees. They're the perfect size. I'm going to trim off the little stands on the bottom of them, and then I'm going to cut off one side of the pine needles to make it flat so that it will lay flat up against the sign. And I'm going to do this with all 3 of my trees. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Chantel, and I love to do Dollar Tree DIYs and DIYs on a budget. So make sure you're subscribed for lots more of those projects. If you're a regular subscriber, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. After trimming the trees, I'm going to take a black Sharpie marker and just color the little wire trunks just to help them kind of blend in and be disguised and not stand out quite as much. And I'm just going to use some hot glue to attach my trees over the top of those trees that are on the sign. It's amazing how just adding a little bit of dimension to something really elevates it and just makes it look so much more high end. I really like the finish on this frame, but I did want to add just a little bit more embellishment. So I am going to use this ribbon, and I know it's not like a Christmas ribbon, but I think it really coordinates with this really well. And I really kind of like the neutral look of it. So I'm just going to tie a bow and put that in the corner on the top left hand side. For the merry and bright sign, I'm actually going to remove the hanger on this one because I'm going to make it a standing sign. And I'm going to kind of basically do the same thing with these little tiny trees as I did on the other sign, but I'm going to put them in the back of the truck. So I'll just pull off those bases and then trim off one side of the pine needles on the tree. And then I'm going to glue those in the top of the truck above where the wood sides of the truck are, just to give this some dimension as well. Since this sign says merry and bright, I thought it would be nice to add some lights. And I found these lights that have the little picture clips on them. But I'm just going to save those clips for something else. I'm going to use this string of lights and glue the battery pack to the back bottom of the sign so that it's flush with the bottom of the sign, because this is going to be kind of the stand to hold the picture up. And then I'm going to wrap the lights around the outside of the frame. And this set of lights is the perfect length for this. I was able to go around, and as you can see, I just kind of wrapped it around each corner. And then I tacked down the end with the hot glue, and it sits up using the battery pack just great. I do want to remember, though, when you glue your battery pack on, to leave the access to the batteries facing outward so you can change your batteries if you need to. Then I was trying to decide if I wanted to put this ribbon on the bottom. And I decided I did like that it really brightened up the sign, and I liked the contrast with the color of the truck. And since the sign says merry and bright, I think it makes sense to have a brighter colored ribbon. So I just cut a piece of that and put that across the bottom. For this DIY, I will be using one of these wreath rings. These are the smaller size that come in a 2-pack from Dollar Tree. And everything I'm going to be using in this project is from Dollar Tree. And I picked up this garland. I think I got it last year. It's 15 feet long. And I'm going to be using this candlestick. This is the taller one of the different sizes they have. I'll also be using one of these wood stems, and I'm going to be using one that actually will fit down inside of that candlestick. I'll be using one of the words out of this package of decor, probably the word joy. And then I'm going to be using some of this frosted fern as well as some red berries. I chose this wood stem to fit down inside the candlestick because it is flush with the top of the candlestick. And I wanted something to kind of fill this up so I would have more to glue my wreath to. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to take one of my small wreath forms, and I'm just going to take this garland and I'm going to wrap it around my wreath. And it basically takes almost all of this 15-foot garland to go around the wreath, but I had to cut it in smaller sections to be able to work with it to get it through the center of the wreath. I just wrapped each section and then continued with another piece until the whole wreath form was covered. I didn't even have to glue anything. I just wound it around and then kind of bent the end around the wider wreath form to hold it. Then I'm going to take some of my frosted fern and I'm going to pull this all apart so I have smaller pieces. And then I'm going to just tuck these randomly around the wreath. And then I'm going to add some of these red berries and just arrange them until I like the way they look. And then I will hot glue them down. I'm going to be gluing my wreath on top of this candlestick, but I decided I wanted a little bit more support. So I just took a craft stick and cut some smaller pieces and tucked it down inside the candlestick and secured it with some glue. And then I'm going to actually glue my wreath in front of that. So it just gives it a little bit more uh, of a surface to glue to, and also it kind of gives it a little bit more support. I decided to use the word joy in my wreath, and so I'm going to just attach that in a couple of places with a little bit of glue just so it's in the center of the wreath. And I decided that my wreath needed a little extra something, so I tied a little bow out of this cute candy cane ribbon that came from Dollar Tree and just glued that at the base of the wreath. For this next project, I will be using 3 of these wood blocks from Dollar Tree. They are 2¼ inches square, and they're in the crafter square section with all the wood items. And I'm also going to be using 3 of these bottle brush trees. I'll be using some wood letters, and these need to be a size that fits on the wood blocks. I'm going to be using the word joy. I'll also be using some white chalk paint as well as some red acrylic craft paint. I'm going to be using one of these wood stems. This is optional. You don't have to have this, but since I have these on hand, I'm going to be using one of these. And then I am also going to be using a star just out of my stash. I had this little grapevine star, and I also have these little gold button stars. So I'm not sure which one I'm gonna oh, there it goes. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet, but I'll be using one of these stars. I'm going to start by painting all 3 of my blocks with my white chalk paint. Then while those are drying, I'm going to paint the front of my letters using the red craft paint. I'm only painting the front because I'm going to be gluing them onto the blocks. And then I'm also going to use a black Sharpie marker. And on the edges of my letters, I'm going to color those with the black Sharpie marker. This is going to give a little bit more depth to the letters. You really don't notice that it's painted black, but it just kind of provides a little bit of a shadow and gives it a little bit more dimension. I decided I wanted to use some black chalk paint to dry brush on my white blocks because I felt like they needed something to bring out the edges and give them a little bit more depth as well. So by dry brushing this, you can see that it just makes those edges really stand out. So it kind of defines them. And so then I'm going to glue my letters to the front of my blocks. I'm going to be using this little wood stem as the trunk of one of my trees. And if you don't have a wood stem, you can, get a piece of a stick from your yard, or you can just leave the tree with the stand that it has. But since I'm going to use the wood stem, I'm going to go ahead and just cut off that wire with the stand on all three of my trees. If you don't have a wood stem and you're leaving the stand on one, then you would only cut off the stand on two of the trees because we want two shorter trees and then one taller one. So the taller tree is the one that has the trunk. It's going to go in the center. I'm going to glue it on the block that has the O on it. And then the other two trees are going to be glued to the J and the Y blocks. And as you can see, I cut off the wire and the stand, and the tree is glued directly to the blocks. And this makes them a little bit shorter so that this tree in the center is a little bit taller and it just stands up a little bit more and instead of all of them being the same height. Then I'm going to add my star to the top of the center tree, and I was trying to decide which one I liked best. I think I like the little gold star. Uh, Let me know in the comments which one did you like. So I did decide to go with the little gold star, so I just glued that to the top of my tree, and this project is finished. For this project, I'm going to be using these cute gift bags from Dollar Tree. These come in a 3-pack. You could use any of these designs. I think these are so pretty. I'm going to be using the Holly Jolly bag for this project. I'm also going to be using just a jar that I had in my house that will fit down inside the bag and won't show. Then I'm going to be using a variety of greenery. This is just stuff, kind of miscellaneous things that I had around the house, as well as these berries. These are nice quality gift bags. They're very thick and they're the perfect size. I'm going to put my jar in there, and you really wouldn't have to have a jar, except for it does help weight the bag down to keep it from tipping over. Then I'm going to just put some of my greenery down inside that jar and just start kind of building it up so that I have different types of greenery coming out of the bag. Then I'm going to also add some of my berries in here. And then since my bag says Holly Jolly on it, I wanted to find something that had kind of like holly leaves on it. And I did find this little pick, and I took the apple off of it because I didn't really want that, but I put that in the corner and it's super cute. And I just paired it with this little sleigh candle holder from Dollar Tree. And what an inexpensive, really nice looking holiday decor piece. And it cost next to nothing to make. I hope you enjoyed all of these easy budget-friendly DIYs. If you did like this video, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me out. And don't forget to hit that bell and set your notifications so YouTube will notify you every time I upload a new video. And if you'd like to see more budget-friendly DIYs right now, be sure to click on this video that's coming up right here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.